Smartphones are one of the most transformative creations in human history. They've changed the way we communicate, work, relax, learn, and think. But they've also caused one of our worst problems: phone addiction. In this video, we're going to talk about how using your phone too much ruins your life, the psychology and neuroscience of phone addiction, and evidence-based ways to build a healthy relationship with your phone so you can get more out of life. But is this really that big of an issue? The statistics say it's a common one. People spend an average of 4.5 hours a day on their phone, about 65 days a year. 57% of people feel like they're addicted to their phone, and the average person picks up their phone over 100 times a day. This may sound like an exaggeration, but think about this. Using our phone has become an unconscious habit in many situations. When we're bored, standing in line to get coffee, feeling down, procrastinating, or struggling to sleep, our go-to move is to pull out our phone. But why is this bad? Too much phone use is associated with problems like insomnia, depression, social anxiety, low motivation, and attention spans that have supposedly gotten shorter than that of a goldfish. We'll talk about why phone use causes some of these issues in a moment, but first a quick side note. I'm not saying you have to completely stop using your phone, and I'm also not saying you're a bad person if you use your phone a lot, but your phone may be keeping you from getting what you want out of life. The point of this video is your phone is a tool, and I want to help you make sure that you're using it rather than it using you. Before we talk about the science of phone addiction, here's a personal experience you'll probably relate to. I've had several times in my life where I was addicted to my phone, but the worst happened a few years ago. One night, I had some friends over for a game night. I drank way too much, and of course, I woke up with a nasty hangover. I decided to do something I had never done before: download the TikTok app.
Oh no!
I had avoided TikTok up till then because of how addictive people said it was. But I didn't care that day. I just wanted something to distract me from my admittedly well-deserved misery. I installed the app, created an account, and started scrolling. Then I suddenly realized several hours had passed without me noticing. My hangover was better, but I felt something was worse in my head. I had brain fog, I struggled to focus, and I was even starting to feel kind of depressed. I lost all of my motivation to do anything except go back to scrolling on TikTok. This started a week-long TikTok addiction which took up 30 to 40 hours of my week. Looking back on it now, it's crazy to think that I spent as much time scrolling a single app as a lot of people spend at work. I could feel my mental clarity, cognitive performance, and emotional state all getting worse day by day. Thankfully, I was able to shake myself out of it. I uninstalled the app and never installed it again. Well, until I installed it this week so I could get the clips that I showed you earlier, but I uninstalled it again and we're all good. Hopefully your relationship with your phone isn't as unhealthy as mine was back then, and if it is,
stop it. Get some help.
But even if it's not, you probably still feel like you're using your phone more than you should be. So why does that happen? Why do we use our phones so much even though we know we probably shouldn't be? Let's take a quick look at what's happening in your brain when you're addicted to your phone. A habitual behavior can be modeled as a cycle with a cue, craving, response, and reward. The cue could be a notification sound. The craving would be wanting to pick up your phone. The response would be picking up your phone, and the reward would be whatever you see on the screen. The cue could also be being bored, feeling stressed, or procrastinating from something. Any of those cues could kick off the cycle where you grab your phone, open an app, and waste minutes or maybe even hours. The reward is mainly due to novelty, so things that are new, exciting, and fun. TikTok's recommendation algorithm is the absolute best at this. Within the first few minutes of scrolling, it figured out things I liked, and so it was dumping a non-stop stream of novel content straight into my face. That kind of novelty triggers a release of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter which basically tells your brain, hey, that was fun, let's do it again. Repeating an action that triggers dopamine release quickly leads to the formation of a habit. Your brain is typically more motivated to do those dopamine triggering things, like scrolling TikTok, and less motivated to do other things, like doing work. This is the foundation of addictive behaviors, and it's also why you keep having the urge to grab your phone all throughout the day. It's also why once you pick your phone up, it's hard to put it back down, and that is completely by design. Companies pay engineers millions of dollars to make apps, games, and websites as addictive as possible to keep you using them. And just like in my story about trying TikTok for the first time, this can quickly lead to an addiction which is hard to break out of. If you've ever tried to stop using your phone as much before, you probably experienced withdrawal symptoms like insomnia, boredom, and anxiety. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be that way. So to help you reduce your screen time and minimize negative side effects, let's talk about 5 steps you can use to start improving your relationship with your phone today. First, start off by asking yourself what, why, and how. Awareness is an important first step to making any kind of change in life. So let's start off by taking a few minutes to gain awareness on what you want out of life and how your phone may be holding you back from them. Grab a pen and paper and ask yourself 3 questions. First, what are your goals? Think in terms of your income, your job or business, your fitness, your relationship status, your possessions, where you live, and so on. Get as specific as you can. Second, why do you use your phone as much as you do? Is it just that the apps you're using are that good, or are you avoiding something like work, school, or negative emotions? Or maybe you just simply don't know why you use your phone so much. I don't know is actually a valid answer here. Third, how is your phone affecting your pursuit of your goals? Be honest with yourself here. Your first instinct may be that your phone isn't really that big of a problem. But if you look at your phone's screen time history and see you're spending 6, 8, 10, or even more hours a day on your phone, a lot of that is time you could be investing toward the goals you wrote down a moment ago. I'm not saying you have to completely cut your phone out of your life, but spending that much time on your phone each day is definitely holding you back from what you want out of life. Also, it's not just about the time. Too much screen time affects your mood, energy, focus, motivation, mental clarity, and so on. It turns you into a shell of yourself who doesn't really feel like doing anything, especially putting in the hard work it's going to take to achieve your goals. Now think about those goals you wrote down earlier. Before you can achieve those goals, you first have to become the person who's capable of achieving those goals. And let's be honest here, that version of yourself probably isn't using their phone as much as you are right now. A good way to start becoming more like that version of yourself is to set and enforce screen time limits. People who want to break a habit typically try to break it cold turkey. They go from 100 to 0 instantly, but this rarely ever works. Your habits are literally wired inside of your brain. They're based on neural pathways that have grown stronger over time. So just making the decision to break the habit won't erase that neural pathway in your head. Trying to completely cut something out of your life instantly typically leads to urges and discomfort and withdrawal symptoms, and sooner or later, you wind up right back in the habit. That's why this trendy new idea of dopamine detoxing won't actually do much for you in many situations. The habit's still going to be there when you finish your detox. Also, dopamine isn't even toxic, but that's beside the point. So instead of trying to stop using your phone completely right after you watch this video, instead I suggest tapering down your screen time over the next few weeks. For example, if your average daily screen time is 8 hours, don't plan on limiting yourself to 2 hours a day immediately. Instead, set a goal to limit yourself to something like 6 hours for the next few days. If you're successful with that, then you can lower your limit to something like 4 hours for the following few days. Then from there, adjust your target till you get to where you want to be. This approach may seem like a slow fix, but it has a much higher likelihood of actually working for you. Also, starting with a relatively small screen time decrease, like going from 8 hours to 6 hours, will seem much more achievable to your brain, while something drastic like going from 8 hours to 2 hours won't feel realistic. It's easy to say you're going to start using your phone less, but it's much easier said than done, especially when you're tired, stressed out, or procrastinating from something. That's why I recommend using a tool to help enforce your screen time limits. Think of this like a guardrail that keeps you on track even though you want to veer off course. The simplest thing you can try right after you finish this video is using your phone's native screen time limits. Just search for iPhone control screen time or Android control screen time and you'll find the steps. One problem with those native controls is they're easy to bypass, so I recommend using an app instead. Now this is not an ad, but Opal is my favorite I've found so far. Since using Opal, I've reduced my screen time on my phone to under 2 hours on an average day. I'm not affiliated with that company, and I don't plan on promoting anything except things of my own in my videos. Speaking of which, the Creator Central community just passed 600 members, so if you want to join those other 600 people in learning how to start, build, and scale a creator business, check out the link in the description. Anyway, however you choose to enforce your screen time limits, I recommend tracking your screen time each day. This will help you see your progress over time. Actually seeing your improvement over time builds your confidence, momentum, and satisfaction. A way you can make hitting those screen time goals easier is to make your phone less interesting. Think about your absolute favorite place to eat, the one that you can't get enough of. Mine was this little Chinese place on the corner back when I lived in Tennessee. Now imagine one day you went there and it stopped tasting as good. Would you keep going there after a while?
Hell no.
You can use the same principle with your phone. If you make your phone less interesting, then your brain will lose interest in it, and you won't feel the urge to pick up your phone as often. Here's 5 simple ways you can use to make your phone more boring than I am when I'm on a date with a cute girl. The first thing you can do right now is to silence your phone and put it in another room. Well, unless you're watching this video on your phone, in which case, wait until after. Please don't leave me. Second is turning off notifications app by app. This might sound tedious, but it'll take less than 10 minutes and it'll save you hours of distractions. Third is setting your phone to grayscale mode, which is basically making it look like this. You can do this on iPhone by triple clicking the power button, and on Android you can go to Settings, Accessibility, Color and Motion, select Color Correction, scroll down and select Grayscale. Bright colors are engaging to your brain, so when you cut those out using grayscale mode, your phone becomes less interesting. Fourth is using Opal.
Yeah, you already said that.
Fifth is uninstalling the most problematic apps on your phone. I'm not talking about uninstalling apps you need to work, learn, or communicate with friends and family. I'm talking about apps like games, social media, and streaming. I know you don't want to do this, but which is more important to you? Scrolling random nonsense on TikTok, or building that side business you've been thinking of? Just to be clear, you can still be successful while using social media, playing video games, or enjoying whatever other vice you have. But if you made it this far in this video, you probably feel like your phone has been holding you back from the things you want. So it could be good to take a break from it. Maybe the most important time for you to not be using your phone is when you're in bed. You probably use your phone the most when you're laying in bed when you first wake up, and when you're laying in bed when you're trying to go to sleep. Phone use during these periods not only cause the issues we talked about earlier, but they also stop you from getting your day started and from getting enough sleep. The simplest solution, aside from the previous two steps, is to charge your phone as far away from you as possible at night, and of course, put it on silent. That'll make it so you can't use your phone in bed, you won't get disturbed throughout the night, and you can't use your phone in bed the next morning, at least without getting up and going over to get it. If you have something or someone that you need to be on emergency alert for, like work or a family member, this can still work. On iPhone, you can set your Do Not Disturb settings to allow specific notifications to come through, and I'm sure you can do the same on Android as well. Even after you start following these steps, you still need to accept that it may be difficult. Changing any habit can be hard. That's just a harsh reality because of how the brain works. It's literally wired to resist change. Don't beat yourself up if you have a bad day here or there. Behavior change is about the progress you make over time, not the bad days you have occasionally. If you have a bad day, just accept it and focus on doing better the next day. Watching this video up until this point says that you have the desire to change, and that desire to change is a first step toward making that change. Also, make sure to fill your newly freed up time with things you enjoy, and of course a few things that will help you get closer to your goals. Sitting around just staring at the wall and waiting for the day to end will just lead to you going back to sitting around scrolling on your phone. I suggest using at least some of that time to focus on something productive. And in this video right here, I give you science-backed ways that you can tap into deep focus anytime you want.